I'll tell you one fact first. They say it's lonely at the top. I assure you that is not true. You get to meet people like Cody, Chris, Cole, and the rest of the amazing speakers that I'll share this stage with this weekend. Let's give it up for all of them. Here's the thing though, it's not lonely at the top, but the journey there is treacherous. It's hard, difficult, and painful. It's lonely. And most people, in my observation, in, almost 20 years of doing this, give up too soon. It is a long battle to get to the place where, success doesn't happen like this. Success, most people, this is a broken belief system I want to identify first with you people, is that most people think that they put a little effort, they get a little success. They put a little more effort, they get a little more success. They put a little more effort, they get a little, it's not linear, folks. It happens like this. You work, nothing happens. You work, you watch some people fall off, nothing happens. It's hard, difficult, and lonely. You work, still nothing happens. And then for the people that persist and last the test of time, that overcome the adversity, that continue to do the personal development work and continue to put pressure and march forward under any and all circumstances, it happens like this. It's hockey stick growth. You just take off. And so if you were in this process, if you were in this long journey and it's hard, difficult, lonely, and challenging, please know it was like that for all of us. Backstage in that green room, I've spoken at a lot of these events. I've shared stages with some unbelievable people. The one thing that is common with every person that will take this stage, including myself, especially myself, is that they walked that road and they never gave up. Never. Guys, you've gotten, some of my friends have been up here. Yeah, I don't know, I gotta talk to Cody. I had just my black t-shirt on and I'm as tattooed as Eric. In fact, maybe we'll get up here and get naked together later and see who's more tattooed. And I'm a drug addict and an alcoholic, and I'm gonna tell you guys about that. He's a drug addict and an alcoholic, and I was like, what is this, like the alcoholic session? Like, you put us back to back, the black tee tattooed alcoholic guys speak together? That's crazy. Guys, you've learned a lot of tactical business stuff and real estate stuff, and you'll continue to. And my talk is gonna be geared just a little differently, right? I could teach you how to buy and sell real estate, build real estate, increase value in real estate. I could teach you how to start a business, scale it, grow it, EBITDA, multiples, private equity, mergers and acquisitions, and I'll touch on all this stuff up until selling it for an enormous amount of money. But here's the truth. There's two pieces that you need to be successful. There's the tactical information. Like, you just got a 25-minute masterclass on wholesaling real estate from Eric Klein. Was that informative? Whether you wholesale real estate or not, did you just learn some shit? Give it up for my boy. And Jamil before that, and many more to come throughout this weekend. You're gonna leave with insights and perspectives that maybe you watched that and said, you know what? I think I could wholesale real estate. Or maybe you watched Jamil and you said, maybe I could do that too. I believe that I could. That tactical information is incredibly important. But there's a whole nother piece of this, guys. You have to become it before you become it. That this journey is yes, it's about hard work, yes, it's about information, and it's about execution, but it must be about an internal transformative process called personal development and your commitment and dedication to it. Because I have never, not one time ever in my entire career, seen anyone at any event, anyone that I've coached or come in contact with in business that didn't become a millionaire in here before they became a millionaire. Does that make sense? It's unbelievably important. Guys, I'll take you on a little journey of my story. 1999, I'm 14 years old, and one of my best friends, his name's Matt, and his girlfriend Kelly come over my house, and we're, into drugs and drinking and partying and, fun entrepreneurial fact. I actually hold, I don't know whether to be proud of this or ashamed, I lean towards proud. I actually hold the record for the youngest person ever to be charged with a drug sales charge. And that's 10 years old. I got caught selling weed. I don't know. There's a lot of entrepreneurs, right? Raise your hand if you're an entrepreneur. Raise your hand if you have one of those fancy degrees in business marketing, MBA, bachelor's degree, associate's degree. Not a lot of people went to college here. All right. Raise your hand if you sold weed. There's more of us than there are you. I'm with my people. The problem with that is that my friends came over and I was in that, that life of drinking and partying and making bad decisions as a young person, which is nothing different than generations before mine. But the problem is that it was 1999 and it was the birth of the opioid epidemic here in America. With a raise of hands, I really want to know, have you been affected by addiction or alcoholism, either directly or indirectly? Has it had some impact on your life? Almost everyone, right? My friends Matt and Kelly came over, they broke out a pill, we crushed it, we sniffed it in 3 different lines. It was a 40 milligram Oxycontin. You know what happened the next day? I wanted another one. That was such a fine experience, I think I'll do it again. 6 months later, I had a full-blown Oxycontin habit. I had turned 15 years old. The OCs were not always available. I was going into withdrawal. A pretty girl that I used to run around with had started using heroin. Her and her dad, my first dope dealer, offered me a bag of heroin. And at 15 years old, I stuck a needle in my arm for the first time. And for the next 7 years, I battled addiction at the most extreme level you could possibly have it. IV heroin, IV cocaine addiction, alcoholism, and everything else that comes with it. By the time I'm 17 years old, I got a screaming habit. I'm keeping this thing a secret. Nobody knows about it. I go up to my dad. We worked together. He owned a tree removal and excavation company, and I hopped up on the track of the excavator that he was running. I was running the chainsaw, cutting down trees, and he was pushing them with the bucket. I said, Dad, I need help. He looked at me. I said, I'm addicted to heroin. My dad, I'm from New England. I grew up in the greater Boston area, so my dad's got one of those witty Northeastern sense of humor, right? He knows how to turn a traumatic event into a joke real quick. And he looked at me and said, well, that's kind of relieving because I thought you were just fucking stupid. We packed it up, we went home, we broke out the yellow pages, we found an addiction treatment program, and I attended treatment to try to overcome my addiction for the first time at 17 years old. The next 5 years, I spent at the lowest of lows. I was homeless, I was incarcerated, I was in and out of jail. I broke the hearts of everybody that loved me. I was in and out of rehabs, halfway houses, sober houses, sleeping in trap houses. It was absolutely terrible. I tried and failed to get sober and find recovery more than 100 times. Again, a theme. I never gave up. December 6th of 2006, I'm in a drug deal. Guy's trying to buy some heroin off of me. I'm desperate. The demons and the beast of withdrawal is upon me. Robbing and stealing is nothing new to me. And I take him behind a building where we're supposed to meet a dealer, and I rush him with a knife. And I have him up against the building, and I look this man in his eyes, and I run his pockets, and I steal what is his paycheck. I didn't know how much it was, but I took off running with this paycheck, opened it up, counted it. I robbed the man with a kitchen knife for $82. $82. That's what my life came down to. I took it to the dope man. I bought 4 $20 bags of heroin. I went back to the trap house, all in the same ghetto neighborhood. I went up to the 3rd floor. I mixed those bags of heroin up. I shot those bags. and the entire apartment turned blue with police lights. And I said, I'm done. Armed robbery, it's over. The trap house that I was in was a known commodity to the police because we sold a lot of drugs out of it, and so I just knew that they were going to come through the front door looking for me. And I hid in the closet, and I stayed in that closet all night, and it turned into midnight, and that became the very early hours of December 7th of 2006. And in that closet, I got on my knees, and I prayed to God. I didn't grow up religious. I'd never been to church a day in my life, but I tried absolutely everything to change my life. And nothing worked. I said, God, please. I can't picture living my life another day like this. And I can't picture living my life without drugs and alcohol either. I don't know what to do. I need help. The sun came up. I had blown my mom's phone up, who I had a very strange relationship with. She pulled up in front of the trap house in the ghetto in her Subaru. There was a homeless guy, somewhat homeless guy that was staying in the trap house that had some job interviewing clothes. I stole his glasses. I don't wear glasses. A button-up shirt, some khakis, a belt. I put it on like I was going to work. Police were still out there looking around for me. Went running out of the thing, hadn't seen my mom in like 2 years. Jumped in the back seat of her Subaru. Said, go, go, go. My poor mom, she's like, takes off. Guys, that date was December 7th of 2006. I have not had a drink or alcohol since, and this December I will celebrate 18 years of consistent sobriety. Listen, that applause is to God. I owe it all to him. But I'll tell you something. I'll tell you something about that. He'll give you the sun, he'll give you the tools, he'll give you the rain. It's up to you to plow the fields. It's up to you. Each and every single one of us, you heard my friend Eric that was just up here, came from nothing like I came from nothing. He made something of himself. I came from fucking nothing. I was 135 pounds. I had track marks up and down my arms. I didn't have a single person that would willingly take my phone call. I used to have to call *67, trick them. Hey, it's Eric, don't hang up. Seriously. Guys, I caught fire with recovery, and I started helping people recover from alcoholism through the 12-step program known as Alcoholics Anonymous. Yeah. And what happened there was I had a transformational experience. It was my first exposure and work in personal development was 12-step recovery. This is 2006, 2007, 2008. It's a long time ago. Instagram's not even around. I didn't even have a MySpace. When we needed information, we still went to the library and looked shit up on that Dewey Decimal System. You remember that, with the cards? There's some young people in the room not laughing. They're like, what's that? And I've always been a hustler, right? I was a drug dealer. I was a mover, a shaker. I was always putting deals together. And I saw this opportunity, and in October of 2008, two things happened. Two things. One, I closed on my first real estate deal. I bought a 3-unit apartment building for $150,000. I like how Jameel gave you the address. The address is 4 Union Street, Derry, New Hampshire. And I bought it for $150,000 from the bank. It was foreclosed upon. And so I got my first real estate deal done. That was after working construction and saving up $50,000. People always ask me, Eric, how did you get an investor? I said, what the fuck is an investor? I work construction. I work nights and weekends. I lived in a $550 a month apartment, and I drove a $400 Volvo, a 1988 with 300,000 miles on the odometer. And every time I made $1, I put it in the bank account. And when I could buy a new car, I didn't. And when I could go out to dinner and buy that steak, I did not. I earned it through grit. And I took that money, and with my dad's help, with the financing, we bought that property, and I started my home state of New Hampshire's very first sober living house. And I started my business.
The wildest dream you had have. Those can become a reality with this business. There's so many people that are making outlandish money.
And I am really, really looking forward to joining you, all the other incredible Clever investors at this year's Clever Summit. That's right, I'm back.
Guys, over the next 13 years, I took that little passion-fueled idea that I was gonna monetize and build a successful business in helping other people. People like me, alcoholics and drug addicts. And I took that through all the life cycles and stages of that business. And towards the end of it, the profile of the company was, it was the largest provider of addiction treatment services in New England. 325 employees, $55 million of top-line revenue. And when I sold it, December 21st of 2021, to a private equity-sponsored strategic business, it was Baymark Healthcare was my buyer, and they're sponsored by Webster Capital's Fund 2. I sold it off a TTM, that means trailing 12 months, EBITDA, which is earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, and amortization. It's a accounting formula to calculate earnings, and businesses are valued at multiples of whatever that number is. And I sold it off a $13 million EBITDA for $115 million. Let's give it up for that. Guys, I'll tell you a couple things that I learned along the way of starting a business from scratch, scaling it, and exiting it for 9 figures. First, I'll tell you the story of the closing day. Guys, in March of 2021, it was the decision that I made when I made the decision to sell the business. And I went out and hired an investment banker and an M&A transaction team, and we went out to market. We developed a pitch deck. We put that out to a buyer list of 140 buyers. The next 10 months, this doesn't happen fast, was this narrowing process. When you send out the pitch deck, they respond and say, yes, we're interested, and they sign a non-disclosure agreement. After that, you give them more information, and then there's a couple pivotal days in a transaction. One is called IOI day, which is indication of interest. And so when they sent a letter that says, yes, we're interested, here's who we are, this is some background on us, and we believe the business to be valued from this number to that number. And so you look at all of these, they come in, and you take all the low numbers, and you just say thank you, but no thank you, and you walk away with this list of people that have numbers that you believe to represent the actual value of what you wish to sell the company for, or just the highest numbers. The next thing is they start to diligence your business and dig in, because it's LOI day, which means that there's a certain day that letters of intent are due. And that is their hard number. And at that day, you're supposed to, what they call, see, mergers and acquisitions and private equity have this entirely different language that you'll learn if you ever go through the process. And they say you have to pick a horse. And it's essentially picking a buyer. And in that, the expectation is that you go exclusive with them. And then you go through due diligence. And then when you get through due diligence, you get to the closing day, and then you close the transaction and it's done. I went through that whole process. We had management meetings with 9 different financial groups that wanted to buy the business. I narrowed it down to 2. I refused to give either one of them exclusivity. I kept leverage in the deal. And I took them all the way through due diligence, assuring that whoever I left at the altar, the one that I did not pick, I would pay, I think it was like $250,000 toward their fees, and then I would go with the other party. When we got down to it, I had 2 offers, one for $120 million, but I had to stay in the business, and I had to roll over equity, and I had to continue to be an employee, and another for $115 million. I decided for the clean break and the exit. I didn't feel like being an employee. I knew they'd fucking fire me in the first couple months anyways. That's true. And Closing day was anticlimactic. You know, in your head, the entire time, you're just it's such a nerve-wracking process because more deals die on the vine and don't make it over the transaction finish line than actually successfully complete and have a liquidity event. And so at every turn, you're answering questions going, is that the question that's gonna blow this deal up? This can't be real. There's no way I'm selling for more than $100 million. I'm a 15-year-old high school dropout. I still don't have a GED. My mom wasn't around much when I was growing up, and my father cut down trees for a living. Not me. Closing day comes, 10 a.m., conference call. My right hand, one of my best friends, my chief operating officer, been doing this thing together for a long time. Her name is Lori Boudreau, and is there. And it's just me and her, and we get on a conference call. And on the call, you have all the investment bankers, all the lawyers, everyone from the buyer side, everyone from our side, and one of the lawyers runs it. And he says, all right, we are clear to close. We're gonna sound off. And one by one, everyone sounds off, and they say, are you clear to close? And they say, yep, clear to close. I was the last one. They said, Eric Spofford? I said, yep. I said, are you good to close? I said, yes, I am. They said, this deal is closed. I said, that's it? I said, excuse, they were about to hang up. I said, excuse me, when am I gonna get my money? That was a real question. They said, we just sent the wires. I was like, oh my God. Guys, I went around, I had the Merrill Lynch banking app, and that was the account that they were sending the money to. And now they sent the wires, they confirmed it left their account. I don't know what takes so long, right? My money is just out flying around out of space. And I'm sitting there like, what the fuck is it? And so all day it's 10 a.m. The call took 9 minutes. All day I almost broke my phone. I striped my phone so many times. It comes to 5 o'clock, I'm getting anxious. I'm like, all right, banking hours are over. Like, am I gonna have to go to sleep with my money zooming around out of space? This is crazy. 5:35, I'm sitting in my kitchen. I'm sitting at my kitchen table. I got my feet up on the table. I'm like kind of frustrated. I'm about to start calling people and letting them know what time it is, right? And I scroll that thing down and boom! God damn! That's a lot of money. You guys want to know what I did the next day? Everyone always asks me, then what? What'd you do? I woke up 5 in the morning. I didn't know what to do. I went to work. And we were looking at I was in my office, which is in southern New Hampshire, and down in Fall River, Massachusetts, for anyone that's familiar. It's a couple-hour drive. I went and picked up Lori at the office. We got a cup of coffee, and I was down there looking at these big mill buildings that I was gonna buy. I had the architects, engineers, and they had known that I just transacted because the news covered it. And they were even looking at me, they're like, shouldn't you be on a fucking island or something? Why are you here? And I'm looking at these big mill buildings that I was gonna convert into apartments in a mixed use space. And I looked at it, and Lori, my number 2, God bless her, she's such a soldier. She's sitting there, it's 9:30 in the morning. It's 3 days before Christmas, folks. It's now December 22nd. And we're freezing. It's in New England, it's in Massachusetts. And she's got a cup of coffee, and she whacks me with her elbow, and I look at her, I'm like, what's up? She goes, we're never taking a fucking day off, are we? I said, no, we're probably not. Anyways, guys, this is a couple things that I learned along the way. The reason that I got here, and the reason that most people won't, is because I believed I could and I would. You guys understand they thought I was insane? I mean, they still think I'm insane, but like really, when I was living in that $550 a month apartment, driving that old piece of shit car, Volvo, 1988, and I told them, I'm gonna start a sober house. The state didn't even know what a sober house was. There had never been one. I said, I'm gonna start one. They were like, Okay, bro, right? I was 22, 23 years old. I started it when I was 23. When I told them that I was going to grow that business to be the largest provider of addiction treatment in New England, they all looked at me and said, you? Let's not get ahead of ourselves. You've done good with the little sober living thing, but you have to believe in you. You should expect nobody to believe in you until you've shown them and proven them. And you guys need to stop asking and waiting for fucking permission. No one's gonna give you permission. It's on you. Nobody believed in me. That's not true. My dad did. A handful of people. But generally, people looked at me like, I stand before you today, and I'll tell you that you must have a very clearly articulated and defined vision. Guys, you better write this down. Chris said 10 things. Here's one. You can't hit a target you can't see. If I walked around this room and I asked you, where are you going to be in 5 years? Where are you going to be in 10 years? 99% of you could not fucking answer it. I could tell you month over month what my plan is for the next 10 years. I know exactly where I'm going. I know exactly what my goals are, and I've reversed engineered my way from my ultimate goals all the way back down to what's in front of me right now to what I have to do tomorrow to achieve it. You have to have a fucking plan. So I'm going to have a plan. Right? It also doesn't happen without risk. Like if you guys, who here wants, let's just get real for a second. That day, December 21st, you know what I got? You know what the technical business term is for what happened in my bank account? It's called fuck you money. Who here wants fuck you money? Say F you money. It's not going to happen by playing small. I consistently, over and over and over again, took everything, all the chips, and put it in the middle of the table. It's going to take an immense amount of risk. Do you know the skill set that you need to really, really have and develop inside of yourself in order to get to that place where you're going to create huge value and that value is going to move into FU money? Is your ability to navigate stress and pressure. If anybody wants to make monumental moves, you're going to have to put it all on the line over and over and over again. That is how the game is played. That is how the game is won. And your ability to navigate the stress and pressure that's going to come with that is going to directly impact how successful you're going to be. Can you handle six-figure pressure? $1 million pressure? $10 million pressure? Or $100 million pressure? I've been at every level. I assure you, the pressure and the stress increases incrementally every time you level up. Every single time. Guys, the most motivational and the most inspirational thing that I could tell you that I think about every single day, and I have for this entire journey. You guys want the sauce? It's this one thing. It's universally true for everyone in this room. It's guaranteed to you. You're going to die. None of this shit matters all that much anyway. So many people are trapped in a prison of fear and whatever self-limiting beliefs and doubt that they have. And if you understood that it's going to happen so much faster than you realize, and there's going to come a day where, unlike today, you're out of options. There's no more chances. Hopefully, my prayer and wish for all of you is that in that moment, You're surrounded by people that love you. You look out at the world, you see the impact that you made. You're proud of the work that you've done. And I hope that you do not have the one thing that is my biggest fear. It's why I play so hard. It's why I go all in. It's why I'll take the risk. It's why I don't fucking care if I lose. If I lose, I'll lose gracefully in front of all of you, and I'll fucking do it again. And I'll regret nothing, because that's the one thing. Regret. Fear of embarrassment, fear of failure, fear of what your small-minded circle back in your hometown thinks of you, what they're gonna post on Facebook, and all of that shit is going to mean absolutely fucking nothing in that moment. You're not even gonna think about it. You have to play this thing all in. Can you say all in? All in. Guys, I'm out of time. I love you very much. Thank you for having me.
Hey, if you liked what you just watched, that was just a tiny snippet of the world-class training delivered at this year's Clever Summit, our flagship event that we had over 20 world-class speakers training at. So if you're interested in seeing the entire Clever Summit in its entirety, all you gotta do is click the link down in the description down below and get your hands on the full training.